Okay, so in honor, well, belated honor, of my 1 month hikerversary, I thought it would be fun to do a best uncaptured bloopers moments reel, especially because that gives me something to do to wait for the food truck, because I'm headed down to Roan Mountain. And I've heard rumors that that hostel has a food truck at 1, and even though I'm being really slow because I was just up on a bald and I love those, I'm probably gonna get there before 1. So I thought it would be fun to go through some of my funner moments on the Appalachian Trail thus far.
Bearbaitbubbles. I don't know much about bears at all.
Alright, so first gear, whoopsie daisy. Well, honorable mention goes to forgetting my trekking poles in my dad's van in Oklahoma. That was good. But definitely have to hand it to thinking that coming to the mountains in the summer means you can just have a sleeping bag liner and not bringing a sleeping bag. But luckily, the outfitters at Neil Gap hooked me up with an awesome sleeping bag, so I'm warm at night and can sleep. Okay, best, I probably need an adult supervision moment, honorable mention, goes to Uncle Johnny's dinner shuttle, where we pull over in a gas station. I get really excited and I ask like, hey, can I jump out real quick and see if they have peanut butter Snickers? Which they do. Luckily Miss Charlotte's amazing, lets me jump out. I get my peanut butter Snickers, I buy like 4 of them, because that's my life. And I get out and the shuttle's gone. I'm like, oh. And you know what? I'm not even disappointed. So probably a sign that might need adult supervision. But number 1 has to go to deciding that a good way to start my breaking a 20-mile day was the same day Klingman's Dome, which has incline. It also means that I spent a ton of time talking to people on the top and taking pictures. So I did not break 20 miles that day, but I did sleep in the bathrooms at Newfound Gap. So probably winner of I need adult supervision moment, possibly of the Appalachian Trail. And I'm sorry, Mom, but I just couldn't hike another 3 miles up to the shelter. And it was dark and I didn't want to get eaten by bears. So, you know, you do what you do. All right, best food creation mix-up. Maybe catastrophe is actually a better word. This one I'm gonna, again, there are gonna be some honorable mentions. Honorable mention number 1 is basically anytime I cook, you know, I've been telling people I use my stove 3 times, but I think technically I've used it 4 because I made mac and cheese, then I made, that was burnt, and then I tried to make, what did I make? Oh, someone gave me some mashed potatoes, so those were also burnt. And then I made oatmeal, it burnt. And then finally, I made some mac and cheese and broccoli, like aposticides. That wasn't too bad. So, yeah, 4 times. And then honorable mention number 2 was thinking that in my efficient manner, that marshmallow cream would be good in my peanut butter tortillas. So I slapped those together at Fontana Dam and then hiked the Smokies covered in marshmallow cream. So yeah, I mean, I do love my hashtag that Professor Napt helped me create, but I really don't want to be bear bait. That's like a fun little joke about how I don't get eaten. But the winner has to be when I tried to rehydrate mac and cheese in a plastic bag. So like you put the noodles in a bag with water and then you wait a little bit. But you don't wait 3 or 4 hours because they turn to mush. And then when you add your cheese, it's disgusting orange mush. So yeah, that wins. Okay, best unnecessary hissy fit, honorable mention, goes to on my way into No Business Knob when it did hey, I did break 20 miles, so good on me. But I also fought with my smart water bottle for probably an hour or so by elbowing it. So that was real mature of me. That was good. But I'm gonna have to give it, this one I'm gonna set the scene. So we are, the night before, we are having to night hike a little bit. This is Taco and Songbird and I. And we're trying to get to the shelter because the next day we're gonna go to the NOC. And so of course there's some inclines, so they get ahead of me, and I fall behind, and we put our headlamps on, and I can see theirs kind of in the distance, which is nice, but I hear a noise and, you know, get really scared, think it's a bear, probably a bird, but you know, I push past it, I get through it. Then walking into camp, I fall on my butt, but hey, you know, I pushed past it. I didn't cry. And so, you know, then Taco comes and tells me that the shelter is full, and I look at him aghast in my situation, thinking he must be joking. Quickly realize he's not. Luckily Get Fiddle helps me find a spot for my tent. I begrudgingly put up my tent. Woe is me at this point, but you know, and so of course I'm too lazy to put everything in where it should be, and I leave my dirty shoes outside my tent, even though I know that it's probably gonna rain. So then later in the night I woke up to a ton of rain, so I have to throw all my stuff together, better organize it, and then, but I go back to sleep, you know, thinking like, oh man, my tent, I'm so bad at putting it up, there's puddles, I'm gonna have to buy a new sleeping bag, this is just awful. But I mostly hold it together. But in the morning I decide to go ahead and change into my hiking clothes, and I'm getting it done, and the thing that sets me off into the winner of the most unnecessary hissy fit is that my tent touched me. It was touching my back, and it was a little damp, and it was just too much for me to handle. So I had some choice words to say about it, but luckily I realized how unintimidating I sound when I'm cursing at a wet tent. So I was able to giggle and feel ridiculous, but it was a funny minute or two for anyone, probably the birds who heard it. So that's my best unnecessary hissy fit thus far. Okay, best animal interaction. I think the funniest might be my second night, when I was awake all night because I was just convinced that these coyotes were out to get us, and I was on the top loft and I was gonna have to wake everybody up and fight them off like the gray. It was barn owls, so that definitely gets an honorable mention. Yesterday, or was it the day before? No, the day before. Unfortunately, my scaredy catness got the best of me, and I was sitting, taking a water break and eating some food by a rock, and my bag was right next to me, and a chipmunk ran up, and he scared me, so I squealed, so he ran off before I could get a picture, but I was like, I've always wanted a picture of this chipmunk, and he was right there in my face, and we looked at each other and both screamed and ran off. Well, he ran off, and I sat there and laughed, but yeah, that's honorable mention number 2. And then I think best animal interaction has to go to during Smokies. I don't remember what day in the Smokies it was, but there was this little, what at the time I thought was a turkey, little brown turkey coming at me, and he was poofing his feathers, and he was just coming at me, and so I clank my poles, and I say, hey, no! And I scare him real bad, and he runs away, and then I feel really, really bad, because it's a little bird, and why did I just yell at a little bird? But that's how it goes. That was probably the best animal interaction for my blooper reel. You know, surprisingly, I just can't seem to think of an honorable mention for best navigation error, but it was pretty funny. So my first day backpacking, I call it day 0, I did the approach trail, and then I went down to Springer Mountain Shelter and spent the night there, so that in the morning I could go back up to Springer Mountain and officially start the AT and do the whole AT from there. But before I got there, we got to the summit of, Footprints and I, got to the summit of Springer Mountain, and there were signs everywhere saying like don't sleep up here, there are bears. So of course I was like, no. And it was raining lightly anyway, so I didn't really want to set up my tent. But there were two guys up there, and so we chatted with them, and then Footprints decided to stay up there. But I decided to go down the back of the mountain to where I thought was the Appalachian Trail and just do down a trail. About 10 minutes in, maybe not that long, but I went down there and I was like, this isn't a trail. It's not. So I turned around and had to do the walk of shame past Footprints and the two guys, but I did make it down to the Springer shelter, so I think that's the #1 best navigation error